Osiris is one of the most important gods in ancient Egyptian mythology, and his story reflects many themes central to Egyptian beliefs about life, death, and the afterlife. Mythological story. Osiris was the son of the earth god Geb and the sky goddess Nut, and he was married to his sister, the goddess Isis. His brother, Set, became jealous of Osiris's power and plotted to kill him. Set tricked Osiris into entering a coffin, which he then sealed and threw into the Nile. Osiris drowned, but his body was later recovered by Isis and Anubis, the god of mummification. Isis used her magical powers to revive Osiris temporarily, during which they conceived their son, Horus. Symbolism of death and rebirth. Osiris's death and resurrection symbolize the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth in Egyptian mythology. His mummified form represents death and the underworld, while his resurrection symbolizes renewal and the promise of life after death. Role in the afterlife. Osiris was believed to be the ruler of the underworld and the judge of the dead. In the afterlife, deceased souls were judged by Osiris, who weighed their hearts against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart was found to be lighter than the feather, the soul was deemed worthy of entering the afterlife and joining Osiris in the field of reeds, a paradise-like realm. If the heart was heavy with sin, however, it was devoured by the monster Ammit, and the soul faced eternal punishment. Association with fertility and the Nile. Osiris was also closely linked to fertility and the annual flooding of the Nile River, which was vital for agriculture in ancient Egypt. His death and resurrection were often associated with the annual cycle of flood and drought, symbolizing the rejuvenation of the land and the renewal of life. Overall, Osiris played a central role in Egyptian religious beliefs, embodying concepts of death, rebirth, judgment, and the eternal cycle of life. He was worshipped throughout ancient Egypt and remained a prominent figure in Egyptian mythology for millennia. Deity worship rituals were central to ancient Egyptian religious practices, and they varied depending on the deity being honored and the specific context of the ritual. Temple rituals. Worship of deities primarily took place in temples dedicated to specific gods and goddesses. These temples served as the focal points of religious life and were managed by priests and priestesses who conducted rituals on behalf of the community. Offerings and sacrifices. Offerings of food, drink, incense, and other symbolic items were made to the gods as acts of devotion. These offerings were believed to sustain the gods and maintain cosmic balance. Sacrifices of animals, such as cattle, goats, and birds, were also made on special occasions to appease the gods and seek their favor. Rituals of adoration and praise. Worshippers would recite prayers, hymns, and chants praising the virtues and attributes of the deity being honored. These rituals were often accompanied by music, dance, and processions, creating a festive atmosphere and fostering a sense of community among worshippers. Festivals and celebrations. Ancient Egyptians celebrated various festivals and religious holidays throughout the year to honor specific gods and goddesses. These festivals often involved elaborate rituals, processions, and theatrical performances depicting mythological stories associated with the deities. Osiris festivals and rituals. Osiris, as the god of the afterlife and resurrection, was particularly venerated through funerary rituals and festivals dedicated to ensuring the well-being of the deceased in the afterlife. The most important festival dedicated to Osiris was the annual Osiris Mysteries, or Osiris Festival, which commemorated his death, dismemberment, and resurrection. These rituals included dramatic reenactments of Osiris's mythological story, symbolic offerings, and prayers for the deceased. Mummification and burial rites. Osiris's role as the judge of the dead also influenced funerary practices in ancient Egypt. The process of mummification was believed to mimic Osiris's own resurrection and was accompanied by rituals and spells to ensure the deceased's safe passage to the afterlife. Funerary texts, such as the Book of the Dead, contain spells and instructions for navigating the underworld and appealing to Osiris for mercy and protection. Overall, deity worship rituals in ancient Egypt were multifaceted and varied, reflecting the complex religious beliefs and practices of the civilization. Worship of Osiris, in particular, played a crucial role in funerary rituals and festivals dedicated to ensuring the eternal well-being of the deceased.